Welcome to yet another episode of Blocks and Barriers with me, Tracy, the health coach. Today, I'm very excited. We have a very special guest. We have Edgar Odhiambo, who has been a phenomenal mental health advocate for over 5 years. He's also a public advocate and public policy advocate and enthusiast. And today, he's gracing us by speaking about his sobriety journey, a 5-year ongoing sobriety journey. So welcome, Edgar.
Thank you so much, Tracy.
You're welcome. How would you describe yourself besides what I've said, just out of curiosity?
I'm a podcaster.
Mm-hmm.
Podcaster, and I love sports. Yeah, so other than the professional side of things, there's my love for sports, my love for podcasting, and my love for working out.
Excellent. And with podcasting, what is something that makes you love it?
It's the one platform where I feel there is, in fact, an overflow of information. Mm-hmm. So about anything and everything. So any topic that I can think about, and I literally can go on a podcast and I can go on the platform and I can find people who talk about grass and how to grow good grass, so I can move from good grass to, anything to do with technology, anything to do with different personalities that we come across in this world, So I like the platform for the fact that it has the information about so many things all in one, and then I can take in that information while doing other things. I like to multitask sometimes, so sometimes I may not be able to be too settled to take in information silently, so I can literally be cleaning while listening to a podcast.
Yeah.
So it's literally the perfect. It's a perfect tool for me to engage with. Yeah.
What's something you'd really love to do in that space?
For me, I think my ultimate dream or goal with podcasting is reaching a world stage. Yeah. So having grown so much in the podcasting space to points where I can host a live event. Number one. Number two is also being able to go for public speaking engagements because of podcasting. I think I've always wanted to reach bigger audiences, not just digitally, but also physically. So I think it would be really, really nice if I can get to speak in front of a live audience. In different settings. It could be at workplaces, it could be in the community, it could be in schools, because now it's of course targeting different age groups.
Sounds like you're a people person. You want to share information, and so that makes me see why you'd be a mental health advocate and just spreading information and encouragement to people in this space. So today, of course, you're speaking to us about your journey in sobriety. But before we do that, the reason why I wanted to do this episode is because of, our health can be affected by different things. And of course, alcohol can be one of the issues or one of the things that affects our health. So I'm going to ask the audience maybe 2 or 3 questions, and I'll get you to chime in and see if, and give your input. So alcohol, so the first question is, alcohol is a causal factor in a number of conditions. How many medical conditions do you think?
High blood pressure.
Yeah.
Depression.
Yeah.
Depression for sure. Anxiety for another. Terms of number, maybe.
Yeah.
Top of my head.
Yeah.
I would say definitely more than 5.
Yeah. It is actually 60.
60.
Yeah, so definitely, like you said, high blood pressure, depression, mouth, throat, stomach, liver, breast cancer, cirrhosis of the liver. There's depression, like you said, there's so many. And then from that, how in a year, the second question, in a year, How many people die out of the harmful use of alcohol? That's globally.
Wow.
Try to guess.
We are 7 billion people in the world, so is it 5?
Yeah.
I would think we are at least over the 500 million mark.
They're saying 2.6 million deaths annually.
You meant deaths?
Yes, deaths.
So I'd sort of 500 as people who might be suffering every other minute.
Okay.
2.6. I would have thought maybe about 1.5.
Yeah. And when it comes to sobriety, now this is a figure from 2017 by Alcohol Change, and this is for the UK. I tried to look for Kenyan figures. They had other stories to say, but if you're to guess, how much of the population says they are not drinking at all? What percentage would you give? High, low, medium?
I don't think it's too high. I'd say maybe anything close to mid or slightly lower than mid.
So they're saying 20%. So if it's just 20%, I can, it's clear that not many people get to this stage where you have come 5 years in where they're not drinking at all. Maybe share a bit of your journey with alcohol and what led you to decide to quit.
Thanks for that question. My journey with alcohol, let's see. I say my first interaction with alcohol was when I maybe was 14. But it was more of a taste, not necessarily like drinking. Yeah, it was more of a taste, and it's because of a family member. I'm just trying to think when it was the year. I think it was the year 2000 actually. It has to be very specific. So I'd say, yeah, maybe I was like about 12, 13. Actually, not even 14, yeah, 12, 13. So it was because of an auntie of mine who, it was the millennium year, and because everyone was in a celebratory mood, I got a taste of whatever she was drinking. But I remember I was sleeping over at her place, and after that weekend, when I was dropped back home, my auntie mentioned to my mom how, in the course of the celebration, Edgar had a sip of what I was drinking, and my mom took it to the pinch of salt. She didn't really say much, but I remember she pulled me aside later on and she told me, okay, Edgar, I need to caution you about alcohol intake. And she told me that there will be a time when you will be able to partake. But for now, I would prefer you did. Because you're young, first of all, this is something that should be taken by those who are 18 and above. And then also when you drink it, there's ways of how you drink it. You don't just drink to get drunk. There's ways to gauge that. But those are things I would prefer you don't do now. You probably do when you are an adult. She also cautioned me that, of course, with alcohol intake comes things to do with retrogression in brain development. Of course, then acting irrationally because of being either tipsy or drunk. So I didn't drink again. Until now. I think I was maybe 20 years old. And I think I got into drinking at that time when I was 20 because of my family again. So not anything to do with peer pressure, but it's more of them welcoming me that, okay, now you're an adult, you can partake if you would like. And they then guided me. So I had my mom, my auntie, and an uncle of mine who guided me on how to conduct myself when I'm drinking. So it's in terms of when I'm drinking a spirit, there's probably how you should do it. So when you're drinking a beer or a cider, there's also how I've shown how to do that. And it sort of helped me because when in that age of 18 coming up, there's this excitement around alcohol. Everyone wants to partake, and most times than not, we end up either drinking too fast or drinking too much or a combination of both. And of course, you either get too drunk, you have memory loss, you act irrationally, some people may show aggression, you may engage in reckless sexual behavior, things like that. So I remember for me, because I was cautioned about these things, what helped was that I kept remembering what I was taught by my mom and my auntie and my uncle. That yes, partake, have fun, but don't lose control, basically. Always just find a way to, when you see you're about to lose control, stop. Yeah. So that guidance helped me navigate my drinking years, and I remember I mean, there's very few times that I probably even got drunk. Drunk, properly drunk. It's very, very few times. And for me, when I used to drink, I was happy-go-lucky guy, uh, social, very social, liked to dance. I was funny. I let loose quite a bit. And that's sort of what that was. And then, just being the guy who brought people together so that they can have a good time. Yeah. So in terms of how I was when I was drinking, it was more or less like that. And as I sort of moved on, through my 20s, into my early 30s before I quit. And I'd say for a good chunk of the time I was drinking, I had a good interaction with alcohol. It wasn't anything where I did it in excess. Um, it didn't quite affect my day-to-day activities, whether it was school or when I got into the job sector, the job world. I can't say it really affected that world for me. I was still able to be out in control most of the time. In fact, a lot of the time I was always being the guy who, when we were out clubbing with friends, taking care of people, make sure everyone is okay, ensuring people go home safely, however we're going, whether it's deciding to not drink that day so you could drive people home, or drinking under the limit so you can be able to still be, okay with the car to drive home. And then, yeah, I was in that sort of space of just taking care of people a lot of the time. And I think for a very long time, it got to a point where now I started forgetting to take care of myself. I was so wired to taking care of people that sometimes I'd forget to take care of myself. So I think when I got to 2018, yeah, 2018, I think I started noticing that my relationship with alcohol started changing. And by that, I mean, I noticed that after a night out, which was still within the same, description of what I've shared, I was still happy go like guy dancing, bringing people together, all that. But I noticed that then the mornings after I drank, I started getting depressive. So it was a combination of being depressive and feeling highly anxious. So it was like a push and pull. Depression pulls you down, depression is pulling you up or pulling you left to right as the depression is pulling you down. And it was a very new experience. I also didn't know how to talk about it because I didn't think anyone would understand it. I thought it was very personal to me as Edgar was going through it. I didn't think other people would get any of it. So I didn't share, I really didn't share that with anyone. But I just sort of continued drinking. Because during the week I'm fine. And most times I drink Friday and Saturday. It was very rare I drank on Sundays, and even if I did, I didn't drink much unless maybe I was on leave or I was on holiday and it's extended into a Monday. So indulging on Sunday wasn't a bad thing, but because Mondays were either filled with me going to the gym and then going to work or just going to work straight and stuff like that, or when I was in school going to class, then I didn't drink on Sundays. Yeah, if I did, it was very little. So I can count the Sundays where I sort of partook and drank a bit more than I should have, even if I had like work or school. I think those incidents were maybe one off, so two. That's it. Yeah. So I think moving into this period now, I started noticing that I'd get very depressive, very anxious, and I didn't know what to do. But I sort of continued, and then at some point I said, no, let me take a break from alcohol, which I did, and I got up to 2 months. So when I got up to 2 months. This was October of 2018. In October of 2018, I lost two friends in a span of 2 days. So when this happened, I remember when my second friend passed away. I After we were done at the hospital, I went straight to the bar and I felt like I just needed a drink because the emotions that I was facing were quite intense. The thoughts that I had at the time were very intrusive, and I just felt overwhelmed generally, and I didn't know how to regulate myself. So I decided the common thing, you always see whenever you have a stressful period in your life. You see it in the movies, you see it in people around you. You go for a drink because that's the impression you get is that when you have a drink, then you sort of relax, you sort of take it easy, you're able to think clearly and stuff, things like that. So I remember I went to the bar straight, drunk till a certain hour. I went home, slept, and the next day I had to go and see the person who passed on first. I had to go and see her at the mortuary, and I broke down seeing her like that, because I'd seen her a few days before she passed, and she seemed okay. She was good, she was good, but now seeing her in a mortuary was just so, uh, it was painful. It was painful. So I was overwhelmed. I remember after seeing her, I went again to a local pub, and we drank some more with some friends. And I noticed now after that period, after those two deaths, when I started drinking, every time I drank, again, just Friday and Saturday, but I kept waking up the following day, feeling depressive, feeling anxious, just really sad. And I just didn't like myself very much. I didn't like that things were the way they were. And I just didn't know what to do. So that sort of carried on from that October all through until June 2019, when I decided enough was enough. I needed to take a break again. But these were leading events that brought about me making that decision to decide, okay, let me take a break from alcohol and see how far I can go. Yeah.
Because like you said, we've never been taught how to deal with our emotions. We feel overwhelmed. We're going through painful things. In your case now, you've lost not one, two people in a short space of time. So all we know is, go to the bar. All we know is from the movies, this is what you're supposed to do. So how does the drinking culture in Kenya also add on to those messages that we receive?
The way I describe the drinking culture in Kenya is one of drinking is a thing people do to deal with happy, sad, happy and sad moments, good and bad situations. So if you're in a celebratory mood, drink. If you are not in a celebratory mood, you're angry, you're sad, you're hurting, you're depressed, you're anxious, you're confused, you're doubting, drink. But the way it is presented is in the space of going out clubbing, fun, just fun experiences. So it's like, let's go out with friends, or for any occasion, any name it. It could be brunch with friends, it could be going for a funeral, it could be going to the club, it could be going for a child's birthday party. Literally, a child has turned one, but it's still an occasion for people to drink. So the drinking culture has it encourages people to drink whenever you want to deal with whatever emotion or whatever thoughts you're facing at any given point in time in your life. So it then discourages people from talking. People then don't talk to each other and say, I am going through a certain thing and it is affecting me in certain ways. Like, people don't go in depth to have this conversation about how they are affected and how badly they are affected, or how happy they are feeling, and what the person should do with that happiness they're experiencing. Most times it says, let's drink to that, let's drink to that. But the culture we have exacerbates people or encourages people to drink, and to drink copious amounts of alcohol. It could just be your birthday, and let's say, for example, I have turned 25, and someone came up with this, whatever you can call it, a rule or an obligatory rite of passage, that if you've turned 20, then you have to drink 20 shots of something. And you find even most times people dictate which shots you're going to take. It's probably an alcohol, a spirit that you probably don't even like, but somebody will tell you, no, it has to be this, and you're forced to take these 20 shots within a very short span of time. It's almost guaranteed that, one, that is a very dangerous thing to do. Number one. Number two, there is a high chance that you will not make it through the night. But apparently, that's what it's meant to be. That's what we call celebrating your birthday. That's how it is defined. It's that you have to take all this amount of shots so that you can count it as a celebration. So in terms of, I see, for me, I mean, I've participated in these things either by being in these different settings and drinking at each and every one of them. Being it is my birthday, and I'm there willingly participating by taking this number of shots that I'm taking, or it's a friend's birthday and we are there dishing out this number, being one of the people who are paying for this number of shots that this person needs to drink so that they can celebrate their birthday. And then tomorrow is like, oh, did you, yesterday we gave Tracy turned 20 and we gave her 20 shots. Man, did you see how drunk she got? Man, I think she had a really good birthday. But guess what? Probably she did.
Exactly.
She probably didn't have a good birthday. Yes, she got drunk. She probably won't remember what transpired between a certain time period. She probably woke up with a terrible hangover. She probably has no appetite. She maybe isn't even able to hold down a meal or drink water. So that's a glimpse of what the drinking culture uh, in on this side of town looks like.
Yeah. And I hear you on the birthday one because I remember, and I think maybe it doesn't matter where we are because I remember one birthday here in the UK, and yeah, it's my birthday, so everyone is buying for me a drink, and they're all buying different drinks. And as you said, I did not make it through the night, and then the next day I'm not in a good way, and they're telling me what happened, and it was not good. So yeah, we come from that place where we celebrate everything, and any celebration has alcohol. And in fact, there was one article by Nation saying when they did a study or survey, 89% of celebrations must have alcohol. So then if you're trying to speak out and say, I have an issue with this, or if you're trying to make that journey, it can really be difficult because it's just everywhere. So for you, yeah. So for you, what was the thing that made you switch over despite being in that culture?
So I'll give you the leading events. So in June 2019, a friend of mine lost her father. He had been unwell and he succumbed to the illness. And we traveled out of town to be part of this funeral, and as friends. And we also met her uncles and aunties. So we travel out of town. We get on the other side, and we as the custom, so to speak, would be that you drink. So you drink in remembrance of this person. You tell yourself that the drinking that you're partaking in is celebrating that person's life. So we drank that Friday up until Saturday, maybe about 2:30, 3 in the morning. After that, we woke up around 7 a.m. to sort of now start going to get ready for this funeral service. So we started through the funeral. We laid my friend's father to rest at probably 3:30 p.m. Once things settled down around the home, we decided to start drinking. But now this is a thing that is not just us, the young guys, were doing. This was also being done by the older folk, the uncles, the aunties, and even those who are older than them. So peers of all generations or all age, maybe not all generations, but let me say peers of all age groups were partaking. So again, it seemed a very normal thing to do. So we did that. And I think, but because I was driving back to Nairobi the next day, I clocked out around 11 p.m. The plan was to sleep enough, wake up fresh, and leave the town that we're in for Nairobi at around 9 a.m. Safe to say the people that I left drinking drank to again another probably I think 3 in the morning. So this then definitely meant that the travel plans I had set were going to be derailed. We ended up leaving this town at 11. Then we had a stopover in the middle of the journey, and then we got to Nairobi quite late because also the weather at the halfway mark of our journey became really bad. Those heavy rains. So we ended up getting to Nairobi around 8 p.m. But we didn't go home. We dropped one person off. We remained 4 of us in the vehicle. We went straight to a club because none of us felt like going home. And then that, we then also convinced ourselves that wait, but we've traveled all this many hours, even through bad weather. We leave this man to rest. I think we deserve a drink. So we go to a club that we know usually is lively on a Sunday, and got there, and I gave one of the guys who were with in the car. I gave him the key, and I told him, okay, I've done enough driving for this trip. I want to drink comfortably. I don't want the responsibility of having to drive. So you are the one who's responsible for getting me home safely. And he took the responsibility, and then we went on to drink, and we drank, we partied, had a good time dancing, laughing, talking, all these things. And I woke up in bed, and it's about maybe 9 a.m. I don't remember I don't know, I don't remember a certain part of, the club experience we had on Sunday. I don't remember how I got home that night, although I know I was drunk, but I don't remember the journey home. I don't remember getting into my house. I don't remember changing into my pajamas. I remember nothing, but I am in my bed. Though immediately there was the feelings of guilt, feeling of shame. I was angry with myself because I think the thing that kept going through my mind was how could I let myself go that much? So I was now trying to get information about what happened. So I called my friend and I asked him, and he starts laughing like, "Oh man, you don't even remember. You don't even remember." And then he fills in some gaps for me, including one particular incident, which was where I had parked the car when we got to the club was next to a drainage system. It just had a bit of, just mud, nothing really tragic, but dried. So it was dried mud. Um, Ideally, what should have happened was for it was him to pull out the car from where I had parked, and then all the passengers enter the vehicle. But I insisted that I can find my way around, and I'll find my way into the car without having for him having to pull out the car. And safe to say that I was not right. I was not right on the money. I ended up falling into the drainage. So my left side of my arm, I remember I had some bruises. The t-shirt I was wearing was dirty. The pants I was wearing on the left side was also dirty. So that I think added even more shame to this whole ordeal. But I was so hungover, so I didn't have a lot of time to process all my emotions. So I was in and out of sleep that whole day. So the Monday came and went. Tuesday, I woke up, I was still feeling hungover, I was feeling tired because now the activities of the weekend were quite heavy. We were doing so many things, including driving for almost 10 hours. I mean, that was no easy feat. So on my body, I was also very, very tired. So Tuesday, I was still also in and out of sleep. Thank God I didn't have any work to do. I was off those 2 days. That week I was off. So I was able to, sleep things off. Wednesday when I woke up, I was still feeling off, but I was feeling a bit energetic to get some things going. And I remember I called a friend and I told her that we need to meet for lunch as I wash my car because there's something that I need to just chat with her about. And when we met, I explained to her what the drinking for me was like since I lost my two friends in November up until this particular weekend that came and passed. And I explained to her that those deaths are the thing that sort of tipped me over the other side because I noticed that I never used to get such terrible hangovers. Um, I never used to go through such emotional and mental turmoil after a night of drinking like I was for those months. So then she just challenged me and told me, okay, this one weekend, let's see, maybe don't drink this weekend. So I think just because of what happened that this particular weekend for the funeral, and then experiencing the kind of hangover that I did, the depressive episode that I did, the anxious, the anxiety that I did, and all the shame and all, that's what got me to, Literally, it was a leading event that might be switch over to this other side of, okay, having my friend tell me, Edgar, this weekend, take a break. Don't drink, see how you feel. And if you feel any better, then maybe take it into the weekend that follows. So I'd say for me, those leading events from the deaths of my friends up until this particular funeral got me now to switch over to the other side.
So in the first year, when now you've been going step by step, maybe this weekend you're not drinking this weekend, and it just goes until now you're a year in.
Yes.
What were some of the biggest hurdles in that first year of not drinking alcohol?
The most invasive, I think, for me were this is where I think now I introduce childhood trauma to this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Childhood trauma and grief. So one having to process that, I actually did lose two friends and I lost them within a very short span of time. I can't act like those deaths didn't affect me in any way, shape, or form. Number one. Number two is also now my childhood trauma. My childhood trauma is linked to the environment that I grew up in. It was dysfunctional for a very long time, and due to that dysfunction, I was affected. But I think for a long time, this thing of taking care of people and bringing people together were ways I was coping. You have people around you that you feel like, okay, there's some safety. I'm not lonely, there's people around me. When I'm taking care of people, it sort of gave me a purpose. So I was busy. I was otherwise always engaged. But now, when I'm not drinking, so yes, I've gone out. I may want to take care of people here and there, but I find myself slipping into, thinking about very different things. Just random thoughts about my life. So I'd say having to face my childhood trauma and the grief were my biggest hurdles that first year I was drinking. Then now we add the third one, which is still maintaining the social life that I had to a certain extent. So that means going to this, whether it's a club, a local pub, still going for social engagements, could be a wedding, could be a burial, could be a birthday, and people are drinking. And facing people who kept asking why. Why did you stop drinking? Why are you not drinking today? Or people telling me, trying to convince me to drink that weekend and then I can't go back to sobriety the week after. So that came with a level of when you're in these environments, there's still temptation. You remember how that beer tasted I used to drink it, when I used to drink it. I would remember how certain spirit would taste when I would mix it with whatever, whether it is water or soft drink. I remember how a shot would taste and what would lead me to take a shot. I remember at what point during the club experience in a night out. During a night out, when the DJ has just played these 2, 3 numbers, and I'm like, yo, my mood has elevated. I'm happy, and I'm like, you know what? This experience I'm having right this moment deserves a shot or 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think those 3 are the primary hurdles that I went through in the first year: temptation, grief, and then childhood trauma.
Yeah. And so, like you said, first of all, you're a social person. And of course, there'll always be some celebration, wedding, or something. So you can't avoid. But then now, how did you handle those situations where alcohol is present?
For me, what I did was, despite the temptation, they're just 2 things that I kept going through. One was I chances are I either when people are ordering, let's say, for their drinks, or someone would say, ask me, do you want a drink? And then what I would say is, or someone notices that I have ordered a drink that is non-alcoholic. I always used to say, I'm not drinking today. Number two was I would go through a very quick recap of, if let's say I did drink today, I am very sure I know how I feel tomorrow. So because I don't want to go through the depression, the anxiety, the intrusive thoughts, the shame, the loss of memory, having a memory gap because of the alcohol I had consumed, I would then just say no. Having those two things or three things at the forefront of me, that I would say could help me considerably. And then another thing also is just saying, I'm not drinking today, as opposed to saying I have quit alcohol,
Mm-hmm.
because it's more manageable. It's sort of, it's like a mind play with the people that you're around, because they're like, okay, maybe he's not drinking today, we'll cut him some slack, but I know next time I meet him, he'll drink. And before I knew it, or before they also knew it, we had hit a month, we had hit 3 months, we had hit 6 months. And then now the same people turn around and ask, Edgar, it's been 6 months, you've been saying this same thing. What's going on? You know? Then I just tell them, I'll say I'm not drinking today for as long as I want to. Yeah, I'm not offending anyone. There's nothing wrong I'm doing. So I will I'll keep going. So yes, I was still social, but I noticed also my being social changed. I realized also that my I have an introverted side to me. So that now started coming out a lot more. So I also didn't stay out very long. So I'd be, if let's say we met with people around 10, probably by around 1 o'clock, I'd be done with my night out and I've gone home. So give or take around 2 to maximum 3 hours, I've done my time, I've left. Yeah. That also helped me quite a bit on my nights out, because I noticed that also with my sobriety, what started showing in me is that, one, I was not able to keep up with the same tempo I used to have when I was drinking. Mm-hmm. And because everyone around me is sort of on that level or higher, there's a disconnect. And then I end up getting irritable, I'm getting impatient, I'm not paying attention to people who are talking to me. I'm not dancing like I used to. I'm not being too social. I'm more or less I'm more quiet than I used to be. So then I realized, no, I think for me it's better if I'm home. So I do my time and I leave. There are very few moments or very few times when I stayed on more than 3 hours, but I think it was because of the safety that I had with the people that I was with. There are people who, even when they drank, they had a hang on how they drank, which had nothing to do with me. It was just their personal decisions. So I was able to just relax and have a good time and just stay with them for as long as I wanted.
Yeah. Good. So you found your own formula, but then you see, like, again, with life continues to happen, and you may lose more people as time goes, and in fact, even recently you've lost someone dear to you, your cousin. So how do you manage these painful, emotional life situations throughout your sobriety journey?
That's a really, really good question. To be honest, what I do is I just let the emotions come. I let the thoughts come the way they come. I don't try and block anything. It's not an easy task, but I don't try and block anything. I let the emotions and the thoughts come the way they do before I start trying to gain control. I think a lot of times as human beings, we have this temptation to always feel like we have to be in control all the time. So whenever something happens, you have to first make sense of it. And then secondly, you want to gain control so that you feel better quickly. But then you realize sometimes those are situations you don't have a lot of control over. So you let those moments come. So in this case, yes, I did lose a cousin who I was very close to. His death it did shake me. I think more because, one, we were close. Number two, because he was unwell. And I found out prior to him passing that he was unwell. So I was with him until a couple of hours before he passed. And seeing him the way I did was not easy. It was a very difficult thing to face. It was a very difficult, moment for me. and then now he passed. So it's very easy to think, because this has happened, then I have a reason or justification to drink. But thank God, it's so weird that that was not even the first thing that came to me. Mine was just, man, I'm just really sad that this guy has passed away. I'm shaken that he's gone, and to me, in my opinion or in my view, that he passed away too fast, too soon. I think it was more or less going through moments of anger and sadness at the same time, or rather, momentarily, where I didn't want him to pass away, of course, but at the same time, I understand because of how much his illness had taken away from him. He was going to pass on, So the first thing that did come to mind was just like, man, I'm really sad that he's gone, and I'm going to miss him. It was not anything to do with, now that he's passed away, I need to drink, so sort of deal with my emotions. Mine was just, I don't know how long I'm going to be sad, but I will also not rush that process. I just let it happen. So that's a significant milestone for me, because back in the day, anyone who passed away, because he's not the first person that I know who's passed away who's close to me, but you know, other times it was so automatic that we rush to a bar and we have a few drinks, or we lay this person to rest, and it's in honor of this person's memory and life on earth. We drink, and I participate in that. So for me, I think what I've just done is I've allowed the grief to come the way it comes. So if I feel like crying, I cry. If I feel like not talking to anyone, I don't do so. If I feel like talking about him, then I find someone who I trust to do that with, and then we talk. Um, if I feel like going to work out, I work out. If I feel like just staying in bed, I stay in bed. So this is just the first week post his burial. But 3 weeks after I found out he was ill and all these things. So I just allow it to come the way it does. Yeah.
Yeah. And thank you so much for sharing, because it's still new to you. As you said, it's just 3 weeks since you found out he was ill, and then it's just 1 week since the burial. So thank you for sharing with us. And as always, someone will be able to pick up and see that it's okay to feel your emotions. It's okay to just maybe sit in them and just process it in however you want to and however long you need to. So there's no pressure on the process of grief. So thank you for sharing that. So then for men, do you feel, I know we're all encouraging and you've been very vocal and very part of the conversation of encouraging men to speak about their emotions. So with that, do you feel it's going to be harder for men to quit drinking, especially in a culture like we have in Kenya where every celebration has alcohol?
Yes, I agree. I think that is an accurate thing to say. My explanation towards that is this: growing up, men are conditioned to keep the emotions to themselves. We've often been told that, being a man, part of being a man is, whenever you are faced with any life challenges, is that one, you keep it to yourself. You don't even tell your fellow man. Number two, it's you deal with it internally. But when you deal with it internally, no one really prescribes what are the processes one needs to follow internally to deal with these thoughts and emotions or challenges healthily. We're just told, keep it to yourself. You find a way out of it. It will be okay. But from what we've seen, that way of doing things has mostly led to us men break apart. So ways we've been encouraged to deploy when you're dealing with things internally has always been drinking. One of them is drinking, another one is being violent, another one is shutting down emotionally and mentally, another one is disassociating from people, being irritable. And somehow, some way, somehow, because of doing all that, the problem sort of sorts itself out. But that's not the case. That's It's not a healthy way of doing things. It's not a healthy way of dealing. So I find that even if we were to come and tell the same people to not drink, for example, they just tell you, "I don't know what you're talking about." And the fact that it will be harder for men to quit drinking, I think, just affirms that they are human beings, or we are human beings. Actually, let me talk about that party. We are human beings who go through life struggles, challenges. We are faced with these things on a daily basis. In this day and age, currently, the world order has changed considerably, especially after COVID. Things are just not the same, from political unrest in very many countries to economic distress in very many countries to family setups breaking apart and breaking down because of childhood trauma, because of grief, and many other reasons. So most times you're just told, no, this is going on, drink. This is going on, drink. You find, even if you're not told to drink, because you find your fellow men drinking around you, it sort of just hits you that even when you're alone and you're faced with a life challenge, oh, but I saw this gentleman called Edgar when he was facing a life challenge, he drank. So, okay, I'll drink. So most times I've found in my sobriety journey, by the time I'm hearing men coming, when I'm seeing men come to me, men I know, men I don't know, but I've heard of me and I've heard of my sobriety journey, when they come to me and were thinking of quitting alcohol, is because things are already very bad. So they're coming from a place of it's damage control now. They have to get a hang of themselves. They've probably messed up in so many areas. It could be their workspaces, it could be their families, it could be their businesses, it could be in their community, whether it's they live in an estate or whatever. It could be they're driving a car and they had an accident. Either they got severely injured or slightly injured, or they had a near death scare, or even someone died. Then now, so they sort of come to this place of let me quit because something or some things, some terrible things have happened. Very few. I've met few who've come and told me, I've thought about this thing and I'm realizing that alcohol is not serving me because I do not want to go to the other side where things get moved from bad to worse. I want to quit now. They don't come from a place where they're preventative. It's from a place of damage control. So, and again, just because we have so much that works, quote unquote, against us. We have a lot that works against us for us to be, informed to say, okay, you know what? I thought about my life. I'm in a reflective mood and I just want to quit. Or I've noticed certain patterns in my thought processes or my behaviors or both. And I think to be on the safer side, I want to quit. Or people who are in situations where they notice that their emotional well-being is maybe taking a dip. So they come to that decision where they say, I think I want to quit. And then they quit. Yeah. So I'd say, yes, it's safe to say at this very point in time in 2024 that, yes, it's still going to be harder for men to quit because of how we are conditioned and cultured to deal with tough situations, tough moments, and tough experiences.
Yeah. And the good news, though, is, like you said, it's like things are not set up for maybe men to be successful, but we have you here. 5 years, you've done it.
5 years.
So yes. What can you encourage someone who is thinking it's not possible, there is no way, but you're here, you're a living testament that it can be done. It can be done when the system is not set up that way. It can be done in a way where, yes, life is happening. You've lost people through the journey, but even your mindset is not like it was before, where now you're just dealing with your emotions in a healthy way. You're not even thinking about alcohol. So what can you tell them about what 5 years of sobriety looks like so they can be encouraged?
It's not impossible. Sobriety is very possible. And sobriety, to me, at least in my 5 year experience, does not have to, it's not a decision you only make because you're on the worst side of things.
Mm-hmm.
You can make it way ahead of time just based on other people's life experiences. You can just decide for yourself that you do not want to land into that situation. And ahead of time, you can make the decision to quit. My 5 year journey has come with a lot of reflection. It's come with a lot of realizations. It's come with a lot of growth. And all these things start with day one. So I think it's one of those things where you have to first you work backwards, and by working backwards, I mean you ask yourself what is it you want about want for your life, and you pick the the key areas of your life. Yeah, it could just be your mental health, it could be emotional health, it could be your spiritual life, it could be your friendships, it could be your work, it could be your physical life, and any other spiritual as well. So I think you take first from that. What is it that you want to achieve in those areas of your life? Then now, when you list those things down, there comes you having to face where you currently are and why you are in the current place that you are. So for you to achieve things on this side, upon reflection of what things look on this side, then to meet somewhere in the middle, decisions and changes have to be made. So compromise, sacrifice, tough decisions will have to be made. Unlearning past behavior or past way of doing things to then relearn new ways of doing things. Discomfort will have to be the order of the day. Discomfort will have to be the order of the day. That one is something you can't do away with, at least in the beginning. Discomfort just because it's unfamiliar.
Yeah.
But once it becomes familiar, things become easier. So you just look at it as it's in the beginning, it's uncomfortable because it's a skill you don't know. It's a skill you don't have. It's a skill you're yet to figure out how to do. So you look at yourself as maybe you can look at it in the beginning as it's an internship. You're in a workplace and it's an internship. In an internship, you're going to make so many mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be confused. You're going to doubt yourself. You're going to be uncomfortable. You're going to be very intrusive. You could be harsh with yourself. But what tends to happen down the road is that when you're exposed to the same thing over and over and over, it then becomes natural. It then becomes easy. It becomes second nature. Then you start reaping the benefits. Yeah. You start reaping the benefits. And the benefits then include